Hello guys, welcome to a pickups video. I'm going to start with some digital pickups. I've been trying to hold off on buying games digitally for PSVR, as I've explained before. You know, games are fairly often getting physical releases several months after they've come out on the store. There's a third-party publisher called Perp that is bringing games onto disc. But sometimes I just delve straight in because some of these games, it's a gamble. You have to make that decision. Do you think these games are likely to get a physical release or not? And with these two, I doubt it. Well, the first one is called Along Together. It's a puzzle platformer similar to Moss. Again, you're using your tracked controller as a kind of tool in the game to manipulate the levels and help your character get from A to B, basically. And yeah, the puzzles are alright actually. Some of them get quite taxing. Normally fairly simple, but yeah, it's a fun little platformer. It's a few hours worth of gameplay, and yeah, it's worth the pop if you can get it on a sale. I got it actually at launch because it came out, as many games are these days. They're getting a launch discount, which is weird, isn't it? But yeah, launch discounts is a thing. And so I bought it. It's about just over 10 quid, and it's pretty good. Yeah, I've still not finished it. I think I'm not too far from the end though. About 70% of the way through, and it's all right. Yeah, Along Together, I can say it's all right if you're a fan of puzzle platformers. Next one is Preta Vendetta Rising. Now then, this is a hack and slash RPG, Grindathon. It's a game that appealed to me when I first saw the review for it several months ago, but I held off on getting it because of one major issue with the game. And I can't believe I didn't mention this recently in a video that I did about post-release patches, but this is one of the this is one of the most interesting examples to talk about this trend of games getting significant patches sometime after launch. And with Preta Vendetta, the problem was grinding. It was originally designed as a kind of there was microtransactions in it basically when it first came out on PC. Obviously this game hasn't got microtransactions on the PlayStation version, but it seems like the level of grinding that you had to do was set to that base level from PC, where they're basically expecting you to buy shit to make the game quicker to play, basically. Because the gameplay itself on Preta Vendetta is really fun. Yeah, it's quite simplistic, it's hack and slash, but the upgrading and the weapons and the enemies and that kind of thing is fun enough to keep you interested. It's got a nice dodge, chase, slash mechanic. It's got a few little interesting kind of power moves, that kind of thing. It's enough to keep you interested, basically. And as an RPG of this sort, it's the only one in VR, and it is nice to have it in VR because you have that kind of the 3D element is really just pleasing on the eye to see these little characters as if they're little hologram figures. It's reminiscent of that little hologram chess game in Star Wars. That's what it kind of reminds me of. You're seeing these little characters beneath you duking it out. But yeah, it's all right. But yeah, the grinding, man, and I was just put off by that, and all the initial reviews said this about it. So it probably hurt the sales of this game quite a lot, because apparently it only sold 2,000 copies, which is horrendous, isn't it? Especially since it's the only example of this genre for PSVR. It's a niche market, the PSVR, and within that you've got another niche within that niche of hack and slash RPG. But yeah, as a fan of that, an occasional fan of that genre, I was put off by the excessive grinding. I can't be doing with that, you know what I mean? So I waited for the patch, and the patch came, and I downloaded it, and I've enjoyed it. I have been enjoying it. It's still too grindy for me. It still feels like just too much of a slog to get to the next weapon that you can craft or the next whatever. I think they still need to bring that grinding down a little bit. And if they do, this game, I can recommend it. It's actually quite fun. So Preta Vendetta, not bad. But yeah, this culture of doing significant patches. We're not just talking little bug fixes. This trend of significant patches several months after launch is embodied by Preta with this grinding thing. But also to the point where when you load up Preta Vendetta, it comes up with basically a thank you and a heads up. It basically says, thanks for supporting Preta, we're continuing to work on it. So right there from the off, as soon as you load it up, you are told that this game is a work in progress. That you've basically bought a beta version of the game, which is just, again, small devs, maybe this is what they've got to do, but I don't think that's acceptable, you know, because for all those early adopters that enabled this team to carry on working on it with those profits from the early sales, if that's how it works, you know, those early players, those early adopters of the game are not going to be playing the best version of it. So this kind of kicking teeth for them, isn't it, really? Yeah, so, you know, that game's still in progress, so maybe hold off even a little bit longer than I have, and let's see how that game develops. But yeah, I'm not really too happy about that trend of basically releasing beta versions of games. But that was that. So I did get some physical releases as well. So yeah, so these two games, thank God for Perp. Here they are, yeah. I'll be looking forward to these for quite a while, several months anyway. First one is Operation Warcade. Now this is kind of like you're playing Operation Wolf, only the arcade cabinet is alive. That's kind of what it's like. And the first time I played with this, the first few hours, I had the biggest smile plastered to my face the entire time I was playing it. So much fun. Just fun. Can't think of any better way to describe it. Honestly, ridiculous smile on my face the whole time. Yeah, so you stood in front of this quite large screen arcade cabinet, but you kind of can peer into the screen. Of course, it's all 3D and kind of stuff like that. But it's basically like playing the Operation Wolf in VR. Although at certain points in the game, it actually puts you into the game as well. They call them like insertion points or something, action points, whatever it is. But yeah, you get various little short segments on each level that give you a different weapon, a different perspective. It just shakes it up a little bit. Yeah, but it's really bloody fun. Again, from a small team, very small team this. Yeah, very low budget. Again, the graphics are simplistic. Looks like PlayStation 2, maybe graphics, maybe even before that. But the gameplay mechanics are there. It works really well, and it's just so fun. And it uses the aim controller. So you can imagine, obviously, Operation Wolf, you've got that little gun on the stand. But when you're actually playing this, it's not connected to the cab, you can move it around. But to have that ability to really shoot and use the aim controller is really brilliant. So I'm really happy with that. And again, from Perp Gaming, and I got that for, what did I get that for? 14 quid, something like that. Not a lot of money. I'm all washed out. Why am I all washed out? Where's the colours gone in my video? I don't know. Anyway, the next one I got, again, from Perp Games, and this is Apex Construct. I'm quite surprised this didn't get a physical release anyway, off its own back from its original, developers, Fast Travel Games, because this is bloody brilliant. It did get good reviews. It got good reviews at launch, so this game was already worth buying when it came out. Imagine that. So it has had some patches since, so it has had some significant extra content, but that's kind of extra to it. The game wasn't in need of any real updates as it was, but it's nice to have more of it. Basically, it's a from the ground up built VR adventure game. And that's significant because when you build a game for VR rather than just converting it like Skyrim, although that fucking worked really bloody well, so that's probably not a good game to use as an example here, but when you build a game from the ground up, you can of course take those controllers into account and take the medium into account. So for this, it uses a bow and arrow as the main weapon in the game. And of course, with the move controllers, it's a perfect fit because one move controller holds the bow, and one move is your arrow, and of course just that action, and it's really satisfying because you have that really tangible connection to the game. So bow and arrow mechanic works really well in VR, and they've exploited that in this game. It's got a really nice look to it as well, kind of almost cel shaded look to it, and that works really well in VR. Again, because of that kind of low resolution, very detailed textures are wasted at distance. So to have a kind of cel-shaded look, it really fits VR. You know, it's obviously going to cut down on the processing as well, and kind of make it easy to run those games. But yeah, with the current screens we have, detailed textures are wasted in VR at distance, of course. So yeah, the look of this game works really well in VR. Looks pretty and just nice to adventure around. It's nice environments. It feels like maybe there's a little bit of filler in there. There's one of the kind of main aspects of the game is this sort of you finding codes and typing in codes. You got to do a lot of typing on keyboards and stuff, which can be a little bit awkward at first. And yeah, it kind of feels like a little bit like filler, but it's okay. It's fine. It's a nice atmosphere. It's a nice adventure, and it's very well accomplished. Apex Construct, I can definitely recommend it, and so happy to have it on disc. So yeah, that didn't come out a hell of a long time ago, but we did have to wait a few months for it to come out on disc finally. The next game, this game was a bit of an impulse buy after the disappointment of Sony's E3 conference. Sony's conference was so bad that I went out and bought Bravo Team. Now, this was one of the games that people were looking forward to in the last kind of wave of PSVR releases, and it didn't deliver. It was a big disappointment. And was this Supermassive Games as well? Who brought this out? Supermassive Games as well. So I think that's the same team that brought out Superhot, isn't it not? Anyway, really good studio. This is a squad-based shooter, and yeah, it uses the aim controller. You know, it's from a great team. First-person shooter style gameplay, so it had all the ingredients to be something great. It just wasn't quite there. It wasn't what it was supposed to be. It kind of feels like it was rushed out a little bit, and there's certain problems with it. It pulls you out of the game. Now, this is a problem in VR. Some developers are maybe being a little bit too cautious. They really don't want people to be motion sick at all. Sony are really strict on this. Sony say that developers, they need to have measures in place to cut down, minimise motion sickness, because obviously they don't want people suing them for becoming sick and injuring themselves and things like that. I guess that's what it is. But so if you have some games try a little bit too hard to avoid the motion sickness, and this is one of them. And what they do to avoid you getting sick is between points, it's a cover shooter, so between points, instead of you actually moving with your character from point to point, it shifts to a third person perspective and you watch your character move to the next point, and then it puts you back in that character's viewpoint when you get there, and it just brings you out of the immersion every time you move. So that's kind of unnecessary. I don't think they needed to do that. And it kind of spoils the experience a little bit. The shooting action's fine, it works well and everything, but yeah, there is big problems with it. It just feels unfinished. What was the other thing with it? There was some other problem that I can't remember right now. But it's a shame, but I picked it up anyway because I just feel like getting something after that conference, man. But anyway, that's my pickups. Moss is coming next week as well, so I'm really looking forward to that, finally getting that, a physical copy of it. And after that, I don't know what's coming. We don't really have release dates for a lot of the upcoming games on PSVR, so see how it goes. I'll just settle back into the bunch of games that I've accumulated and just get on with those. I can do that, can't I? Yeah. Alright guys, see you in the next video. Bye bye.